I'm Elizabeth McGuire from the Niner Times, here with Joe Harvey from the university's Jameel Niner Food Pantry. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Glad to be here. Thank you.
Can you tell me what your role is here at the pantry?
Yeah, so I am the Assistant Director for Leadership and Community Engagement, and my prime responsibility is the Jameel Niner Student Pantry.
All right, and how did this food pantry come to be?
So a couple of students saw the need on campus of food insecurity. About 1 in 3 students are food insecure here on UNC Charlotte's campus. So it actually started in a closet, and it's slowly worked its way to be what it is today. We opened the Jameel Niner Student Pantry in 2014.
All right, and how does the process here kind of work? I see you have a lot of donations set up back here. How do students go about taking those?
So pre-pandemic, we were relying heavily on donations. Our shelves were definitely not as stocked as they are right now. What would happen is students would come to the pantry whenever our opened hours are. They would check in with whoever's working at the front desk here. Once they did that, they were free to go around the pantry, grab whatever they'd like. We do have limits on certain things, but once they got their groceries, they brought them back to the front desk, and they would go through the checkout process, and then they would be on their way.
All right, awesome. And so you said you get most of them through donations. What about the rest of it?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a few partnerships. So we have Loaves and Fishes. We have the Bulb. The Bulb supplies fresh produce to the pantry. Loaves and Fishes provides kind of like 3-day meal packs to the students. We also have a partnership with Harris Teeter, who generously donated $100,000 to the Jameel Niner Pantry, which is spread out over the course of 10 years. And each year we get $10,000 in the form of gift cards. So what we do with those gift cards is we find out what our students and clients are asking for and what their needs are. And we actually have the opportunity to go out and purchase those items.
What are some common obstacles that you usually have to go through pre-pandemic to get the food, get it to the students?
So one of the major obstacles that we battle with when we were relying heavily on donations is people would run food drives, which is fantastic. It's great. They would run them without going through us. So they didn't exactly know what our needs are. So we'd get a lot of miscellaneous items, as well as most of our clients are international students. So they like culturally based foods from where they're from, and we don't get a lot of those donations. So that is one area that we are trying to overcome, and we are opening our shopping from not just Harris Teeter, but actually to Savita, which is one of the international food markets here near the campus area.
You said they culturally based the food. What are some examples of what you would get in that?
Yeah, so two of the big ones would be Zupi. It's kind of like ramen. It's just kind of like an instant noodle. I think it's marsala is what it is. And then red lentils was another big thing that we got or added to the pantry.
All right. And so now that the pandemic has happened and you had to make a lot of changes, so what kind of stuff did you change internally to compensate for the precautions?
Yeah, absolutely. So everything changed. Students were no longer allowed in our pantry, so we had to figure out a way to get the food to them. And one way that we did that was we created an online submission form. Each of our students can go online and see exactly what the pantry offers, and then they can just go through. It's like online shopping at a local grocery store. They submit their order, and then on Tuesdays and Wednesdays when we're open, the leadership and community engagement staff will actually come in the morning and fill all of the orders. So once the orders are filled, they all go down to the garage, and the students will email us whenever they arrive to the pantry. Once we get that email, we are able to bring it outside and put it on a table for them, and they can just come and grab their stuff and be on their way. It's completely contactless, which is a big step for us. So that was one way the operations kind of changed. Other things we've had to add would be like eggs, frozen chicken, frozen meals, a lot of necessities that you weren't finding in stores when the pandemic first started. So we had to figure out a way of how to get those items to the pantry. And luckily, we were able to find a lot of those items at like Harris Teeter across the entire Charlotte area because there was a limit on a lot of those things. Um, so yeah, so we had to keep our bubble kind of small here at the pantry, so we weren't allowing any volunteers at the time. Those opportunities are slowly coming around again, but in a very limited capacity.
Right, and what about staff? Everybody who works here, are they all volunteers?
So right now, no, they're not. It is the leadership and community engagement staff. So all the assistant directors, all of our graduate assistants, our director is helping out as well. We do occasionally get other individuals in here who work in the student affairs department. And these are individuals that we do work closely with on a regular basis. So they are still included within our bubble. So unfortunately, we haven't had a ton of volunteers in the past year because we just couldn't allow it or risk anybody getting the COVID disease.
But with the pandemic, did you see any kind of heightened interest in people wanting to get involved, or did it mostly stay the same?
Oh, absolutely. Everybody, kind of found a little bit of extra time on their hands. Everybody's working from home, staying at home, and they just want to help other people get back on their feet. And one way to do that is helping at a pantry. And that's not just the Jameel Niner Pantry, it's pantries all across Charlotte.
And I understand you have a garden set up somewhere around here. Does
Yeah.
that go into your food supply?
So it did when the pandemic hit. Of course, that piece of it kind of fell on the wayside because it was volunteer ran. And without volunteers, they kind of are crumbling a little bit. But we do have plans to get those back up and running. There is a gardening day planned in March. Yeah, so March 31st is the gardening day. The sustainability office is putting that day on, and we were one of the sites that they selected, so we're truly grateful for them. They are also providing new beds for our gardens, and they aren't just going to be, the wood raised beds. We're going to have cement corners. They're going to last a lot longer. And then we do have some volunteers working off campus with growing and germinating seeds right now. So once we get those beds up and running, we will be planting in those gardens with what he has started growing at his home, which would be fruits and vegetables.
So, what does the future look like for the food pantry, either like as the pandemic continues and what you plan to do after?
Definitely. So we are hoping to open soon. I'm not sure when that date is. I can't give you a definite answer on that. But we are planning. We are getting a plan together of how it would look once we do open back up. Of course, the university is on, I think, a 25-50 plan with individuals inside and individuals outside. However, with the pantry being as small, I guess, as it is, we can't allow that many people in here at one time. So we're going to have to section off parts of the pantry, to maintain that 6 feet social distancing, as well as having appointment slots and schedules for people to sign up so we can kind of coordinate how many people are coming into the pantry. So that is, we are planning on that. We just don't know when that will be yet. Yeah.
And last question. So, obviously, you guys have done a lot to fight food insecurity on campus, but you can't do it alone. So, what kind of suggestions do you think we as a university should do to fight that with among our students and staff?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's several different things you can do. Things that probably you couldn't do during the pandemic, but with these opportunities arising again, we're always accepting donations. We love donations. Anything is going to help. So if you have like 5 items that you don't want or you don't want to eat or they're not expired yet, bring them on over. Somebody else I'm sure would love to have them. We're always accepting grocery bags and egg cartons. We're going through those so quickly, so we always need to restock those. And then lastly, volunteer opportunities. When we get big donations in, we need to make sure that all of those expiration dates. Well, we need to make sure they're not expired. So we need to go through it all, as well as restocking all of our shelves with those items, which is a big task, and we do need help with that. Um, Also, the outside of the pantry always needs some love. So if anybody has a green thumb and they want to come out and plant some flowers around, the pantry, we'd love to see that as well. And it is a week to week basis on kind of what our needs are. So if you're thinking about volunteering and if you want to volunteer at the pantry, just feel free to reach out to me and we can definitely work something out.
Is there anything you'd like to add?
I think we covered it all, and I appreciate you doing this interview. This was great. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much.
Of course.